Imagine you build, like, the absolute best product in the world. Objectively, flawlessly the best.
Right, like independent engineering labs test it and confirm it is the absolute peak of its category.
Exactly. You launch it, and you go completely bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, your competitor, who is selling a demonstrably inferior product, becomes a billionaire. Why? Because you trusted the math, and you totally ignored the human mind.
It really breaks the brain a little bit. I mean, we are so conditioned to believe that business is just this pure meritocracy of quality, you know?
Right, the whole build a better mousetrap thing.
Exactly, that if you just build a better mousetrap, the market will naturally point to you and declare you the winner. But stepping into the actual landscape of consumer behavior reveals that the clean math equation of better product equals more sales is entirely broken.
It is the absolute definition of muddy waters, and decoding that hidden architecture is our mission for this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We are taking a custom-tailored journey into why some products become iconic household names while others with massive budgets just vanish.
Right, and we're pulling this directly from the foundational texts, the 22 Immutable Laws of Branding, and the 11 Immutable Laws of Internet Branding by Ries and Laura Ries.
So the biggest paradigm shift you have to make right up front, whether you are running a Fortune 500 company or just managing your own freelance career, is realizing the era of the salesperson is sinking like the Titanic.
It really is.
Mm.
Marketing is no longer about selling. It is entirely about branding.
Right. The new rule of gravity is basically nothing happens until somebody brands something.
And that distinction between selling and branding fundamentally changes the decisions a company makes.
Why?
I mean, if marketing was just about selling, the goal would simply be moving merchandise today.
Just getting it off the shelf.
Exactly. Take a luxury brand like Rolex. If their board of directors decided they needed to aggressively increase sales volume this quarter, they could easily manufacture a cheaper, like $100 Rolex watch.
Oh, wow, yeah. The demand would be astronomical.
Right. They would sell millions of units almost overnight and post record-breaking quarterly profits.
But the morning after that quarterly earnings call would be an absolute disaster for the company's future.
It would be fatal. Pumping millions of cheap Rolexes into the market destroys the brand's core prestige. Suddenly, wearing a Rolex doesn't signal exclusivity or success anymore.
It just signals you went to a department store.
Right. The cheap Rolex ultimately cannibalizes and kills the expensive Rolex. Selling focuses on liquidating inventory right now. Branding focuses on engineering a singular, permanent perception in the mind of the audience.
So you can move merchandise forever.
Exact.
And for you listening, whether you are trying to scale a startup, capture market share, or even just curate your own professional reputation in a crowded industry, you have to engineer that singular perception.
You really do.
You must avoid the trap of information overload, which honestly exposes a massive paradox at the heart of corporate growth.
It's super counterintuitive. Because
the natural instinct, if branding is so crucial to survival, is to cast the widest net possible, right? Slap your logo on everything, appeal to every demographic, and capture every dollar in the room.
But the sources reveal this instinct is exactly backward. Expanding a brand's scope is the fastest way to weaken it.
Right, the law of expansion.
Yeah, we see this codified in the law of expansion. When a brand puts its name on everything, the name loses its psychological power. The human brain, it relies on categorization to make quick decisions.
Like cognitive shorthand.
Exactly. Think about the automotive industry. Chevrolet used to be the undisputed best-selling automobile brand in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And to capitalize on that dominance, they expanded their lineup to 10 separate car models. They wanted the large car, the small car, the cheap car, the expensive car, and the tough truck.
They wanted to be everything to everyone.
Right. Ford, meanwhile, kept their lineup restricted to 8 models. And Ford ultimately overtook Chevrolet. When a brand tries to stand for everything, the consumer's brain throws its hands up.
It's unable to categorize it.
Exactly. And the brand ends up standing for nothing.
The text calls this the teeter-totter effect in the mind. Consumers inherently want to assign one single brand name to one specific product.
Right.
Like if someone buys a Corvette, they don't say, I drive a Chevrolet. They say, I drive a vet.
Right. The teeter-totter tips entirely away from the overarching corporate brand.
And Levi's suffered the exact same cognitive penalty, didn't they?
Oh, totally. They went from a massive 31% market share down to 19% over a 7-year period.
Wow.
Not because their denim got worse, but because they introduced 27 different cuts and styles. Baggy, zippered, wide leg.
So they expanded their offerings, And their actual market footprint shrank.
Yeah, exactly. The inverse of this cognitive trap is the law of contraction. Narrowing your focus is the mechanical process that creates category killers.
Look at Subway.
Right.
Fred DeLuca didn't open a sprawling deli selling soups, salads, burgers, pizza, and ice cream just to make sure everyone walking down the street found something to buy.
No, he contracted the entire focus of the business exclusively to submarine sandwiches.
And by narrowing that focus, he built an empire. By 1994, he was paying himself $60 million a year.
Charles Lazarus did the exact same thing with Toys R Us.
Oh, right, with the furniture.
Yeah. He originally ran a store selling children's furniture alongside toys. And to scale, he didn't add baby clothes or diapers. He literally threw out the furniture inventory, focused purely on toys, and captured 20% of the entire United States toy market.
I struggle with this personally, though. I mean, if I have a client who wants me to do their SEO and I also know how to do web design, turning down the web design money feels physically painful.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like walking into a diner that only has one item on the menu. Doesn't deliberately narrowing your focus mean you are, like, intentionally leaving money on the table?
Well, it feels like financial self-sabotage in the short term, but we have to look at how the human mind assigns value.
Okay.
When you aggressively narrow your focus, the market automatically perceives you as a specialist. And in the cognitive hierarchy of the consumer, a specialist is always, without exception, perceived as having higher quality and deeper expertise than a generalist.
Oh, that makes sense. So the diner with the 20-page menu isn't viewed as convenient?
No, it's viewed with suspicion. The brain assumes they can't possibly cook 20 pages of food perfectly.
Right.
The trap most growing companies fall into is observing successful, massive corporations and trying to mimic what those companies are doing now.
Right. They see a massive conglomerate expanding its product lines and buying Gulfstream jets.
Yeah, and the boardroom thinks if we expand our product lines, we'll be successful too.
But you can't get rich just by mimicking the spending habits of people who are already rich.
Exactly. Buying a $42 million Gulfstream jet doesn't generate revenue. You have to investigate what those massive corporations did to become successful in the first place back when they were small.
And invariably, what they did to build their initial wealth was ruthlessly narrow their focus.
Exactly.
So, okay, once you've successfully contracted your focus and accepted that you have to be a specialist, you face the challenge of cementing that narrow identity into the consumer's brain. You have to claim specific real estate in their head.
Right, which the sources call the law of the word. A brand has to strive to own one singular word in the mind of the target audience.
Like Mercedes owns prestige.
Yes. Volvo owns safety, BMW owns driving.
And Federal Express contracted their focus purely to overnight delivery, so they get to own the word overnight.
Exactly. And some brands execute this so flawlessly they actually capture the category word itself. Like Kleenex means tissue. Xerox means copying.
Wow, yeah.
But acquiring this mental real estate is intimately tied to the law of quality, which totally flips traditional business logic on its head.
Yeah, this is where it gets really uncomfortable for engineers and product developers.
Big time.
Because we are practically brainwashed to believe the best product wins. I mean, Ford's historical motto was literally, quality is Job 1.
Right.
So if I dedicate my life to building a legitimately better mousetrap, utilizing superior materials and better design, you're telling me I might still lose to an inferior competitor.
You will likely lose if you rely on the objective quality alone. Quality itself does not build brands.
So what does?
The perception of quality does. This is a bitter pill to swallow, because there is virtually no correlation between objective success in third-party laboratory testing and success in the free market.
And the data from the sources backs this up brilliantly. They highlight a Consumer Reports study analyzing 16 small car brands.
Right. I love this example.
Independent testers stripped the cars down and rated them on pure objective quality. The car that rated #1 in actual quality was 12th in sales.
Wow.
And the car that came in third for objective quality was dead last in sales.
Because reality is functionally meaningless in marketing without the interpreting filter of the human mind. The mind gives meaning to reality using language.
You can't just run an ad campaign telling a consumer, we have better quality.
Exactly. Every single company on earth claims they have high quality. The consumer tunes it out as background noise. Instead, you construct the perception of quality by combining your narrow focus with a better name and, paradoxically, a significantly higher price.
A high price functions as a feature, not a bug.
Yes. Haagen-Dazs added slightly more butterfat to their ice cream, gave it a premium-sounding European name, and charged significantly more than the competition.
And Rolex makes intentionally heavy watches and charges an absolute fortune.
Right, the high price tag itself is what signals to the consumer's brain that the item must be of superior quality.
And visual shorthand operates the same way, which leads us to the law of color.
Right, because when consumer is visually scanning a busy environment, their brain relies on high-contrast visual anchors to differentiate competitors.
Yeah.
You must choose a color opposite to your primary competitor.
Coca-Cola established a massive global footprint using the color red.
Yeah, and Pepsi, in an attempt to look patriotic and broadly appealing, originally chose red and blue.
Which is a catastrophic visual error.
Huge mistake.
By including red, they effectively camouflaged themselves in a sea of red Coke signs. They fractured their visual identity and increased the cognitive load for anyone trying to spot them from a distance.
Hertz understood this perfectly when they launched. They chose yellow. Avis, entering the market later to compete with them, didn't choose yellow with a blue stripe. They went to the opposite end of the spectrum and chose red. You have to stake a bold, contrasting claim to stand out.
Okay, so mapping this out, I have narrowed my focus, I've selected my singular word, set a premium price to signal quality, and picked a high contrast color.
Right, you're all set.
The immediate corporate reflex, once all this is locked in, is to shout it from the rooftops. To go buy a massive Super Bowl ad or a giant billboard campaign to launch the brand into the world.
Which is exactly what you shouldn't do.
The sources argue that doing so is effectively burning your money.
Because if perception is built on authenticity, a massive ad campaign for an unknown company just screams, "We are trying to sell you something." The law of publicity dictates that successful brands are born via public relations, not advertising.
Like Anita Roddick. She built the Body Shop into a global cosmetics powerhouse with zero advertising budget.
None at all.
Her entire strategy relied on PR. And Starbucks spent less than $10 million on advertising during its first 10 years of existence, a period where they were pulling in billions in sales.
Because the media apparatus doesn't care about what is better, since better is subjective.
Right.
The media cares deeply about what is new and what is first. If you have successfully invented a new category by narrowing your focus, you are automatically the first in that category.
Which generates genuine news.
Exactly. Journalists want to write about the first specialized overnight delivery service or the first premium coffeehouse chain. You don't buy ads to build the foundation of a brand. You leverage publicity.
So launching a brand new startup with a $50 million ad blitz is essentially trying to put a roof on a house before you've poured the concrete foundation.
That's a perfect analogy.
But what happens when an established giant tries this? Didn't Miller Brewing drop $50 million strictly on ads to launch Miller regular beer?
Yes, and that is the ultimate cautionary tale of confusing advertising with publicity.
$50 million down the drain.
Because a line extended regular beer generates zero inherent publicity. There is no news story there. No journalist is going to write a compelling front-page article about a brewery releasing a slightly different version of an old beer.
Right, who cares?
Exactly. Public relations must act as the horse pulling the cart. Advertising is just the cart that follows to maintain your altitude once you are already flying.
Which is the law of advertising. Once a brand is fully born and established in the mind, it utilizes advertising to defend its position. It functions exactly like a nation's defense budget.
A military defense budget doesn't purchase new territory. It simply prevents your adversaries from taking the territory you already hold.
So when you are the market leader, your ad campaigns shouldn't desperately try to prove you are better.
No, they should simply remind the consumer that you are the leader. Heinz runs ads reminding everyone they are America's favorite ketchup.
And Coca-Cola constantly reinforces that they are the real thing.
Right. By advertising your leadership status, the consumer's brain automatically assumes your product must be better.
Now, if you're listening to this and you've just launched a successful app or a thriving consulting business, the temptation tomorrow is going to be adding 5 new features or services to please everyone.
It's inevitable.
You see this defended territory and get greedy? This is where almost every successful giant eventually stumbles.
The seduction of greed manifests as the law of extensions. It is statistically the easiest way to destroy a brand's equity, yet 90% of new grocery store products are line extensions.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, because executives want to leverage the brand's hard-won name recognition to sell unrelated items.
Like Miller Lite. It was a groundbreaking success that owned the light beer category. But the boardroom got greedy and spawned 14 different variations.
Bud Light, Bud Ice, Miller Draft.
The result was total market confusion. The consumer no longer knew what Miller actually meant, and overall beer consumption flatlined.
Right.
Or look at the pharmaceutical aisle. Bayer spent $116 million launching 5 aspirin-free Bayer Select products just to capture more shelf space.
Let's walk through the cognitive dissonance that creates for the consumer. A buyer stands in the pharmacy aisle looking at aspirin-free Bayer. Bayer has spent decades telling the world they are the ultimate aspirin company.
Right.
Now, they are implying that being aspirin-free is a premium feature. The consumer subconsciously thinks, wait, if Bayer is telling me aspirin is bad now, why have I been buying their main product all these years?
So Bayer spent a fortune to capture a mere 1% of the new market while actively cannibalizing trust in their core brand.
Exactly. And Snackwells fell into the exact same trap. They completely cornered the fat-free cookie market.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. Then they put the Snackwells name on every conceivable snack food, blurring their specific identity, and sales plummeted.
And this dilution applies just as heavily to sub-brands, doesn't it? Like a Cadillac Catera, a small Cadillac.
Yeah.
That completely undermines the prestige of the word Cadillac.
Or Holiday Inn Crown Plaza,
Yeah.
an expensive Holiday Inn.
Right. Doesn't make sense.
The law of sub-brands demonstrates that sub-branding systematically destroys what original branding builds. It muddies the singular word you work so hard to own in the mind of the prospect.
But corporate leaders are constantly talking about building mega brands or master brands. Are you saying they are all fundamentally delusional about how growth works?
Basically, yes.
If I shouldn't extend my line and I shouldn't create sub-brands, how is a company supposed to capture new markets?
Well, they are operating on an inside-out corporate fantasy. The human mind does not comprehend the concept of a mega brand. The brain categorizes the world strictly by individual categories, and it expects one distinct brand to rule each category.
Okay.
So if a corporation wants to grow into a completely new market, they must swallow their pride and follow the law of siblings.
Meaning they have to launch an entirely separate entity.
Yes. Wrigley is a perfect example. When they wanted to dominate different gum flavors, they didn't make Wrigley Peppermint and Wrigley Cinnamon.
They launched Double Mint, Big Red, and Juicy Fruit.
Exactly. Distinct brands for distinct categories.
And Time Inc. followed the same blueprint. When they wanted to capture different reading demographics, they didn't launch Time for Business and Time for Celebrities.
Right, they launched Fortune and People. They spent the necessary capital to create completely new, highly focused sibling brands with their own unique identities, rather than stretching the original Time brand until it snapped.
Okay, so we've established the ironclad laws of the physical world. Contract your focus, own a singular word, launch with PR, defend with ads, and fiercely resist line extensions.
Right.
But we have to address the digital battlefield. Does the Wild West of the internet rewrite this psychological rulebook?
Well, the underlying psychology of human categorization remains exactly the same, but the digital environment dramatically shifts how you must apply those laws.
Because of the medium itself.
Right. This distinction begins with the law of either-or. The internet can function as a business, or it can function as a medium, but it cannot be both simultaneously for the same brand.
Charles Schwab navigated this perfectly, didn't they?
They did. They looked at the internet, decided to treat it as an entirely new business model, shifted almost their entire operation to the web, and absolutely thrived.
Contrast that strategic clarity with Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, they wanted the best of both worlds. They tried to keep their army of traditional physical brokers while simultaneously offering cheap online trading under the exact same brand name.
Which fractures consumer trust because the value propositions completely clash.
Exactly. A traditional broker relies on the perception of exclusive, highly personalized, human-guided expertise. An online brokerage relies on cheap, self-serve, automated speed.
Putting both under one umbrella tells the consumer, we don't actually know what our core value is anymore. You cannot be all things to all people.
No, you can't.
But if I spent decades building a massive, highly trusted physical brand, why wouldn't I leverage my exact same name online? I mean, if I own a famous Michelin star restaurant and I decide to open a fast casual food truck, aren't I throwing away all my hard-earned equity by giving the truck a different name?
Well, that assumes the consumer experiences the physical and digital worlds the same way, which they don't.
Oh, interesting.
In the physical world, your brand is supported by visual context. There are heavy glass bottles, golden arches visible from the highway, luxurious storefronts, and salespeople in suits.
Right.
The internet completely obliterates that visual context. You are reduced to pixels on a screen. Because the visual cues are gone, the name has to do a disproportionate amount of heavy lifting.
So if your brand equity relies entirely on physical presence, trying to duplicate that online with the same name creates a massive cognitive disconnect,
Exactly.
which beautifully explains why the law of the common name is the absolute kiss of death online. In the physical world, having a generic name is a disadvantage, but online, it is mathematically fatal.
Think about the linguistic absurdity of generic naming. Naming your online pet supply store, pets.com, is equivalent to building a physical car dealership and simply naming the building Cars.
Right, like, hey, where did you buy your new sedan? Oh, I bought it at Cars.
It sounds ridiculous.
It really does. The brain categorizes generic words as broad utility, not as distinct entities you can build emotional loyalty with.
This is exactly why the billions of venture capital dollars wasted by generic .coms, furniture.com, eToys, pets.com just vanished into thin air.
Who actually won the digital gold rush? The proper nouns: Yahoo, Amazon, eBay, Google.
Because a proper noun provides a solid cognitive anchor for the brand. And beyond the naming architecture, the defining behavioral trait of the web is the law of interactivity.
Right, without deep interactivity, a brand's website is essentially a digital ghost town.
Print magazines learned this the hard way. Early sites like Slate and Salon simply dumped massive walls of text online. They treated the internet like it was just an electronic piece of paper.
But look at Amazon. They weaponized interactivity. You aren't just reading a catalog, you are reading customer reviews, leaving your own reviews, and getting highly personalized algorithmic recommendations based on your unique past behavior.
Because the internet isn't a medium for broadcasting. It's a two-way dialogue.
That's a great point.
Every mass medium brought a unique feature to the table. Radio brought the intimacy of the human voice. Television brought the spectacle of motion. The internet brought interactivity.
So if a brand is simply broadcasting static information on their site without allowing the user to seamlessly interact, customize, and query, they are fundamentally failing to understand the medium they are operating in.
Exactly.
Let's pull all these threads together. We've decoded the hidden architecture of how the consumer mind actually processes the marketplace. The rules of gravity are undeniable. You must violently contract your focus to become a category killer.
Right.
You must own a single, highly specific word in the mind of your prospect. You build the perception of quality through higher pricing, launch your brand using the authentic power of PR, and then deploy advertising solely as a defense budget to protect your borders.
And critically, you must constantly fight the boardroom urge to dilute your power with line extensions. If market growth requires entering a new category, you launch a sibling brand.
And when operating on the digital battlefield, you must decide if you are a business or a medium, prioritize deep interactivity, and secure a proper noun that can anchor the mind without physical visual cues.
Spot on.
All of this applies directly to you, the listener, because in today's hyper-connected landscape, you are a brand. Whether you're climbing a corporate ladder, running a creative consultancy, or pitching a startup.
It's all the same rules.
If we took an X-ray of the minds of your colleagues or your clients right now, what is the single word you own? Are you the fixer, the visionary, the closer? If you were trying to be all of those things at once, you stand for nothing at all.
That is the most potent takeaway from all of this. Business reality is entirely constructed inside the mind of the audience. You have to carve out your highly specific space in that mental real estate and fiercely defend it.
But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, I love these.
Everything we've unpacked today, the teeter-totter effect, the cognitive load of generic names, the perception of premium pricing is predicated on owning a singular word in the human mind.
Right.
But we are rapidly approaching an era where AI agents and voice assistants are going to do the mundane purchasing for us. You won't browse a website for batteries or paper towels. You'll just tell your AI to restock the house based on its own parameters. Will the immutable laws of branding still apply when your ultimate goal is to own a word in a machine's mind?
That is a fascinating, almost terrifying frontier. I mean, does a purchasing algorithm care about the prestige of a high price tag or the contrasting color of your logo?
Exactly. Suddenly, that murky, perception-driven human mind we've spent an entire deep dive analyzing might get bypassed by a completely different kind of machine altogether. Food for thought.